Hey, hi, hello, how are you? I'm Pia, and today I'm going to be talking about all of the books that I read during the month of August. Sit tight, grab a snack, a drink, maybe even. Take a shot every time I say a DNF'd book. Let me just address my background. I am in college right now. I'm in my apartment. Have not figured out a setup yet. I also apologize if you can hear my laptop just yamming and yammering. I read so many books this month. I did a lot of DNFs, which is not finishing a book. I typically, if I read half of a book and I'm like, I'm not enjoying this, I'm not going to continue with it, then I DNF it and mark it as done on Goodreads, but I do always make a note that I did DNF it. I personally have no qualms with it. If you want to have qualms with it, then that's your prerogative. I am not going to do my typical order of things just because I don't have Wi-Fi and it's harder for me to figure out all the books that I read. The first book that I want to talk about I did touch on in a video, and that is a Battle Royale. This is a DNF. I did not finish this book because I didn't like it. This is supposed to be a romance about a contestant on a baking show and a judge on that baking show, and I just didn't feel like the romance was believable, that there really was any real connection I had to the story, so I decided to DNF that. Then I read Being Mary Bennett. I really enjoyed this one. This is an arc and I think it comes out in January, so definitely put it on your radar. It's a YA about a girl who's just trying to kind of take control of her own life. It's really great. Obviously it has some really great literary references, and it does kind of have a unlikable protagonist, but we really see her grow over the course of the story. There's some really great character development. I love the friendships in here, and the family dynamics are really interesting to explore. There is also a little bit of a romance, and I do really enjoy this book. I think it's a debut as well, so there's a lot going for this one. Make sure to keep it on your radar. And I DNF'd another book. Surprise, surprise. This is Blame It on the Mistletoe. This is a book I think I went into it with the wrong expectations. This is a YA about these two teenage girls who are switching places over the holidays. They live in some like snowy town. I can't remember the States, and one lives in England, and they switch places, and I just couldn't really get through this one. I didn't think it was believable at all. Also, the romance was really weird. I think like someone was getting with like their ex-boyfriend, and I was like, bros before hoes, like absolutely not. Yeah, it was very like childish and just absolutely unbelievable. Like these two people had never met and they were switching lives, living in like each other's family houses like at 16 years old, and it made no sense. Then I read another arc. I cannot remember when this one is coming out. This is called Candidly Klein. This is by Catherine Ormsby. I love Catherine Ormsby. I've read so many of her books at this point, almost all of them I would say, and I've really enjoyed all of them, most of them, I don't know. This is a middle grade. This is about a girl who wants to be a country singer, but she doesn't have the money for this like singer-songwriter workshop. She is kind of tampered down on her dreams by her family, but she ends up being able to make her way to this workshop, and she meets a bunch of people, and specifically this one girl that she really connects with, and it's all about having this dream and like being able to have a realistic outlook on life while also maintaining hope and being inspired and excited about something that you're passionate about. And it's very sweet. It's the middle grade, like I said, has some LGBT themes as well, and I just think it's so darn sweet, and I really enjoyed this one. Then I read, or should I say DNF'd, The Last Tank Standing, or maybe it's just Last Tank Standing. This is, I couldn't even tell you what this book is about. I thought it was going to be romance. I thought it was going to be kind of like Crazy Rich Asians, but there was nothing really that exciting about it. I felt like even after reading a half of the book, I felt like nothing had happened, which is why I didn't continue on reading it. There was just nothing going on, nothing to the characters, and nothing that really kept me intrigued or engaged, which I know sounds really critical, but being that I do read so much and consume so much media and books especially, I just didn't feel like I had the time for this one since it wasn't, you know, changing my life. I don't know. I read Mistletoe and Mr. Right. This is the second book. It's a companion series called Moose Springs, I think. I read the first one last winter, I think, and I was doing a reading vlog where I read a bunch of holiday books, romances, and this is what I liked. I didn't think I loved it. I think I gave it like 3 out of 5 stars. I liked the relationship a lot. I thought it was really cute, and I definitely would continue on with these books. It was definitely more Christmassy than the other one, but yeah, it was fun. I liked it. I will continue with the series, and if you're looking for like these specific like holiday romances, I think that would be fun. Then for that same video, I read Nick and Noelle's Christmas Playlist. I really liked this one. It was actually an Audible original that is now coming out, you know, physically, and I really enjoyed this. This is a best friends to lovers romance about these people that have been friends forever. It's so Christmassy, maybe a little bit cheesy. I could definitely see it being like a Netflix original movie or something like that. It's so cute. I just thought the connection between the two characters was so strong, and their chemistry was so not like beautiful, but was really present and made me really immersed in the story and invested in not only their characters but their relationship, and I really liked it. It definitely stood out among like those books that I was reading, and I think that if you're looking for a really great holiday romance, that's definitely one. I think I said it's a lot like In a Holidays by Christina Lauren. I don't remember. You're gonna have to watch the video for that. Then I read Starfish. This is a middle grade told in verse. This is about a plus-size girl who is just kind of tackling her life in middle school. She is heavily bullied. Her best friend just moved away, and she is dealing with some really terrible people in her life, not only bullies from school but in her family life, and is dealing with a lot. It was such a sweet story. I really liked it. I do really love that there are so many more books about plus-size main characters, not only in like young adult and adult novels, but in middle grade, which is so important, and especially have this character, you know, realizing that she is perfect exactly the way she is, and that there's nothing wrong with how she looks. The other thing that I have to say about this that was sort of negative, not really negative, but I just find that when I'm reading books in verse, I want to kind of have a different experience than I would be having if it was written in prose. And what I mean by this is the character herself was very into writing poetry, and that was kind of, I guess, why the author chose to write the actual book in free verse, but I don't think that it added anything to the story, so that's just my one complaint about it, I guess. Then I read Swallow. This is probably the most absurd book I've ever read. This is maybe a horror. It's about this girl who is heavily bullied, like outrageously so, and she decides to go to like some sort of witchcraft store and get a hex of some sort to put on her classmates, or I guess put on herself, to make her stronger to deal with her classmates, and it ends up making her kill and also eat all of these people. It was so weird. Watch my 24-hour reading vlog if you want to see my reaction to this. Like, literally, I was like very disgusted. It was weird. It was an experience. I don't know if I'd recommend it, but it happened. I don't know. It's just, I don't know. Then I read The Art of Running Away. This is another middle grade. Oh, I just killed it. Middle grades this month, and I not. This is another arc. I don't remember when it's coming out. This is about a girl who is reconnecting with her brother that she hasn't spoken to in a really long time, and kind of finding out more about his life. He hasn't been in her life, kind of dealing with the resentment and the prejudice and the misconceptions that she had about the reasons why he was no longer a part of her life. Yeah, it's very interesting. I think it's very profound and just a very good middle grade. This also deals with topics of like homophobia. Then I read We Can't Keep Meeting Like This by Rachel Lynn Solomon. This I was so surprised by. This is a romance about these two people that were kind of friends and in each other's lives, and then they kind of stopped being that, and they didn't know that they both liked each other, which is always the case, and they both work for different parts of like weddings, so they keep running into each other at these weddings. And we have a main character who's kind of a cynic. She doesn't really believe in this big wedding aspect. She doesn't want to be a part of the family business. She doesn't really know if she believes in love really, or all the spectacle of it, and our other main character like loves love. Like, he loves a grand gesture, he loves everything about it, and he kind of gets a little bit caught up in that rather than the actual relationship and connection that he's building with other people. They're very different, they butt heads a lot, and obviously it is their romance. I really love this. I think it tackles some really important themes for a YA romance, especially just talking about love and people's perspectives going into any sort of romantic relationship, especially as a young person. I just think that I really enjoyed the characters in this one. I thought that they were particularly strong. I felt like they were very believable, and I felt like they had really relatable struggles that a lot of people could read about and understand, and kind of help them understand maybe other people in their life. And I definitely think it's just a great young adult. Obviously, the romance was really cute. And yeah, this was fabulous. It was so good. Then I DNF'd White Smoke by Tiffany D. Jackson. Tiffany D. Jackson is a hit or miss author with me. Like, not liked some of her books, I've been okay about some of her books, I've loved some of her books, and then this one I obviously DNF'd. This is supposed to be like Haunting of Hill House meets Get Out. Again, like I said, I like to give books a fair chance. I like to give them 50%, but literally the entire 50% was like these people just sitting around smoking weed, and it made no sense. Nothing creepy really was going on, and it just felt very, I don't know if disjointed is the right word, but very incoherent almost. Like, it didn't feel like a thought out and well written story. Maybe, you know, obviously this is an arc, so maybe it could do with another round of edits, but as far as I could tell, this was not it. Then I read another book, surprise surprise. I read Written in the Stars. This is a debut. It's a sapphic romance and it is set over the holidays, and I think specifically New Year's. It has the fake dating trope, which is really fun, and it's very contrasting main characters, and I really liked this. I thought it was really sweet. I definitely thought that the romance was believable and enjoyable to read about. I don't think it was my favorite romance in the world, but I did enjoy it enough that I think I would continue on with the companion novels. Yeah, but it was good. Nothing bad about it if you want that sort of romance. It was good, but it wasn't just like my favorite thing in the world. Okay, here's where things are gonna get a little murky because we're gonna have to go from the top of my head. So let's go to it. Recursion by Blake Crouch. I read this. This was a clusterfuck, like a mind fuck. I don't even know what I read. This reminded me a lot of my experience reading The Midnight Library. I enjoyed them both thoroughly, and I think they deal with also some really different interweavings of time. I can't really explain what recursion is about to you because I really don't understand how to do it. I feel like if you took like the experiments from Jessica Jones and mixed it with like the time traveling like quantum theory of the Marvel Cinematic Universe and put them together. And you also took, what's that movie called? Eternal Sunshine of a Spotless Eternal Sunshine of a Spotless Mind, and you just like meshed them all together. That was this book, and it was so, like, it's definitely confusing for a little bit, but once you get into it and you kind of can wrap your head around what's going on, because it's told in so many different timelines, and the timelines converge and meet up, and like the past is the present is the past, and then like it doesn't make sense. Once you can kind of get a grip on what's happening, I do think this is one where you're kind of thrown into it and you kind of just gotta like ride it out. It is so interesting. One of the most interesting, a lot of people call it weird. I just think anything with time is very murky, very scary to deal with. Like, I don't know how much as a writer I would want to write and work with time, because that is very scary and can always be done very poorly, but I do think that this is a kind of time traveling, time centric story that was done really well. Then I read a short story called True Love. I have really nothing to say about this. It was very, very short and there really wasn't much to it. It's based on folklore by Taylor Swift. It's based on folklore. Not that I'm not a short story person, but I do think that I would have liked more of it. Like, what I read was enjoyable, but I feel like it wrapped up really fast, and I would have liked there to be more development in the overall sense of the plot and the story. So then I read a novella called Apricot Jam. This is a sapphic romance about these coworkers who greatly dislike each other, and then eventually this was cute. I don't know if it was the most well done story. I do think that like the chemistry was there between the characters. The conflicts made a lot of sense. Pieces of the puzzle like didn't make a lot of sense. Like like they were like, I don't know exactly how to explain this. It wasn't the everything like the going on in the background, the whole setup and everything like didn't make a lot of sense. Like the relationship was strong and it was nice seeing these two people connect and get together and whatnot. But like the general things of the plot didn't really work that well. I also read a graphic novel and I can't for the life of me remember what it's called. It's called like the blue something. It's like the blue, I read this at the airport, I don't remember what it's called. The Blue Road, maybe? I picked this up because I really liked the art style. I thought it was really cool. However, reading the book was an experience. I think it was very muddled, I would say. Text and the imagery didn't really work at all together. They didn't mesh at all. Like the text looked like you like just took whatever generic like default setting of a text and just put it over the illustrations. The general story I guess was fine, so that was kind of my issue with that, but it's like pretty. I also read The Unadoptables. Oh my god, I literally just remembered like 6 more books I read. I read The Unadoptables. I really liked this. Exactly what I wanted in a middle grade. We have adventure, we have misfits. I really liked that this was like a historical one. It also had like some spooky vibes. We dealt with like some puppeteering. It's about this group of orphans who are unadoptable and they're running away from the orphanage as they are meant to be split up, and they're going to this one orphan's like father's house and trying to just live low-key and live undercover, and it's very, very cute. I love the friendship in this, and I really, really loved the story. I thought it was so, so cute and really, really great. Then I read When the Stars Lead to You. It's crazy to me because I read some of this and I was like, this is like my favorite book. I'm like so excited I'm reading this. And then by the end of it, I was like, that was not good. This deals with a very toxic relationship at the forefront of the story, and I think I had problems with it that a lot of people have problems with in All the Bright Places, is that it kind of glorifies mental illness in this manic pixie dream boy kind of way. And I didn't think that it was described enough that this relationship was toxic, whereas in All the Bright Places I do think that they were able to grow past their things, and it was a healthy relationship, and it wasn't just about this romance, whereas this book is. I said toxic, but I mean in the way that they were very dependent on one another, codependent. What I did appreciate is in the end, they're not a spoiler at all, but they do talk about that, and the fact that this was, you know, not a relationship that you should model yours after, and things like that. But I do think, especially in YA, you know, things for a younger audience, when you're talking about relationships and things like that, there really needs to be not a clear moral, but a clearer conclusion. And especially being that so many people are going to be dealing with toxic and unhealthy relationships, and I think that it could have left you with a better feeling. It was very interesting. One of the weirdest reading experiences I've had in a while. I also read Phantom Limbs. This was this was for the video where I read books that were about water. This is about a kid who wants to be a Olympic swimmer, which is not really what it's about. It's about this kid who is fixated on his childhood crush who comes back into his life, and he just believes that she is his and does not give a crap about what she says. I mean, she's like, I don't think this is what we're doing. He also is dealing with the fact that he has lost his younger brother, and she has like this weird involvement in that, or at least she feels this sense of that. It's just so icky. I like very possessive of this girl who had a little thing with when you were like 12. Like I was very uncomfortable by it. I DNF'd a book. I DNF'd Everything All at Once by Katrina Leno. This was very surprising for me because I have really enjoyed Katrina Leno's books in the past, but this is a book where I felt like nothing was happening for a very long time. I even read like 70% of it. I had like maybe less than 100 pages left, and then I said no. I wanted to connect with the characters and things like that. There was like a little bit of a romance going on, which like didn't feel fleshed out at all, and like everything was just I also DNF'd another book. I DNF'd The Bees. This was so weird. It's about bees. Like take the Bee Movie and then make it written by Margaret Atwood. And that is what this is. Seagulls. I also DNF'd another book. I DNF'd The Lucky Escape. This is supposed to be a romance about a woman who gets left at the altar, and then she goes on a honeymoon with this guy that she reconnects with from her childhood, and by 50%, there was no romance, there was nothing going on. I really didn't care about the main character or the plot of the story, so it was enough for me. I also read Yearbook by Seth Rogen. I really liked this. This is his memoir. It had some really fun stories. I listened to the audiobook, which is, I think, a great way to not only read this book, but all celebrity memoirs if you are able to do so. This was fantastic. I mean, I love Seth Rogen. I think he's just one of the funniest people, and I really liked his stories about Hollywood and fame, but more so about just like his life and how he got into comedy and writing and things about Canada, and just like a lot of random things. I think it also broke down a lot of barriers about the stigmas surrounding kind of like recreational use of certain drugs and things like that. I also read a book called The Story Girl by Ella Montgomery. This was great because it was like an extra loan I could take out from the library. I love Ella Montgomery. We all know she wrote Evergreen Gable, and this was great. I mean, I think a lot of her stories just give such good vibes. Like they're very like wholesome, and I just always get really like, they're very like comfort food, like to me. They're very comforting and fun. If you liked Anne of Green Gables, you would like this book. Maybe they're not the most different of stories, but I do think that it's fun. It's a good time. Like, you know what I mean? I think that's everything I read. If it's not, I'll let you know in post. I'm sorry this video was a little bit of a mess. I wanted to get it filmed. I wanted to say hi. I wanted to make sure that this would still exist at some point. I will still be continuing videos as I am in university. I don't know how well it's gonna go, but we're gonna try our best. I really appreciate you guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe to all the things, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.